Welcome back to New Money. This evening we're discussing retirement and financial planning. My guests are Palisa Dube and Jordan Toy. If you'd like to email me. My email address is info@anchorcapital.co.za. I just want to come back. Let's just finalise about retirement. So if you make a contribution before, this week, there's an amount you can make. You're going to invest. It's going to add to your retirement savings.
Yeah.
The benefits within the retirement fund, by the way, I don't know if you're aware, I only found out this last week.
Yeah.
Other than that portion, you go offshore into equities.
Yes.
Because when you go offshore into equities and there's dividends withholding tax, you're not getting that tax benefit on offshore equities.
Okay, well, I need to look into that.
Yes,
as well.
I was only, that was only made clear to me on a question I got on radio last Tuesday. And I didn't know that answer myself, because here in South Africa, the funds are particularly protected against that tax.
Yeah.
But retirement annuity is not about tax. It's the benefit is, one of the benefits is tax saving. And you can go to your employer and say, I've made a contribution to retirement annuity, and get the deduction immediately. But it's really about adding to retirement funds.
Primarily, it's to make sure that you've put away enough to take care of yourself when you do retire. Absolutely, and that hence the tax benefits that are then built into the vehicle itself, and not just tax now. Even estate duty benefits, for example, a retirement fund doesn't form part of your estate. So those kinds of benefits are really are fantastic for any kind of portfolio.
So, Palisa, you never answered the one question I gave you. And I'm coming
Which
back
was
to
that? Yeah.
Do you think, I'm talking about the older generation
Okay.
who certainly haven't saved enough. Do you think the younger working generation understand the importance of starting early?
We definitely see it with the young people coming through our doors now. Firstly, they are approaching us for our services much younger. They want to start on the investment journey much younger. They've seen their parents who, hadn't saved up enough for retirement, and they are realizing that they are going to need to help their parents as well. So they certainly want to change that story for themselves. And I think vehicles like a tax-free investment, for example, make it, are trying to encourage that kind of behavior. So certainly, even with the retirement reform that we're now seeing, I think the future definitely looks much brighter than what the current cohort of retirees will experience.
Do you agree with that, Jason? Are you seeing the younger people now understanding that they first got to pay themselves and making these investments, or are they struggling with, to live? I mean, the economy's, difficult, inflation rates and all those type of things. What do you see?
I'd say on the whole, we are seeing more younger clients who are more interested in investing. More difficult to pin down maybe what the cause of that might be, but I think just generally younger people I find are a bit more educated on investments, understand compound growth better, and are keen to get started on that journey. And you always hear, I mean, on shows like this, and I think advisors like all of us often talk about the power of compound growth and starting early and time is your friend and all of those kind of things. And I think it's in some ways starting to resonate. I say it is a mixed bag in some senses, because there are pockets of difficulty in the economy. You're seeing youth unemployment at high levels, so there's a mixed bag. There are some youth that are more educated and looking to invest and have the means to do so, and there are some that are still looking to try and make ends meet, and investing sort of forms a secondary consideration.
I love putting this question to younger people. I had a great in the 60s. Retirement annuity started in this country 1961, 300 rand.
Yeah.
And in 60, it stayed at 1,200, and in 1968, they gave moved it up to 2,000. That was the maximum. But do you know what tax rates were in 1968? Would you like to guess?
What were they?
No idea. No,
Yeah.
it's
I won't ask you that. 78%.
cheapers.
Okay.
I thought
So
the current rate
you
was
put
high.
2,000 rand into retirement annuity, you've got a tax saving of 78%.
Sure.
Cheapers.
On the 29th of February, and I've got that right because it was a leap year, 1968, I was working for Liberty Life, learning the business. People were queuing outside the building into Rissik Street
Sure.
to put
It's
their
not a-
2,000 in by the 29th of February because of the 78%. We're only getting a tax deduction of 45%. It's still a lot. Jason, adding to retirement savings is obviously tax-free savings, which came in about 4 years ago. Are you comfortable about? Are you encouraging that?
Yeah, so I'm quite a big proponent of the benefits of tax-free savings accounts. I think Melissa has unpacked retirement annuities quite well, and I think both can form a good part of anybody's financial picture or their portfolio. You know, each account offers distinct benefits as well as limitations. The tax-free saving does not have limits in terms of how you allocate the portfolio. So, for example, you can allocate 100% offshore, provided the investment provider has capacity for that. So that's one advantage. It also has flexibility where you can make withdrawals in and out of the account. That can be a disadvantage in the sense of it should be avoided where possible, but it's an option that's there. The main benefit, though, is obviously the tax break at withdrawal. So unlike a retirement annuity, there's no tax on capital gains at withdrawal. So the amount that comes out is not taxed. However, the amounts that you put into that account...
It's not like a retirement annuity.
Yeah, you're not getting a tax break.
Retirement annuity is off the top, then you get all the taxes, whereas tax-free saving is after you've paid the taxes and you now, where do I save the money? But you're foolish if you don't put the money there or you put it into another investment, because the other investment, there'll be a big difference over 10. Look, we've only got a limit still of 500,000, 36,000 Rand a year, 500,000 in your lifetime. That could be increased a little bit by Sweden at some stage.
We hope so every year.
So I mean, it's an investment account where time is definitely on your side. It obviously is limited to a set amount, 36,000 per year, so it'll take you quite a while, 13, 14 odd years to max out the account. But that's why I say time is a massive advantage with that account. If you max it out as soon as possible and can leave that account for 20, 30 years to grow, the potential capital gains tax, for example, that you could save on starts becoming quite significant if you're able to grow the value of that portfolio.
Okay, so we've been talking about retirement, we've been talking about savings. Now we come to a different situation, and I like Wendy's email in Pinetown. She says, this is to you, Melissa. She says, I understand the two-pot retirement system. If I make use of this, how will this impact on my retirement savings? So the two-pot is where you can draw. And we haven't got enough time to talk about the system. It's only effective 1st of September, so we can talk about it another time. But the question is correct, and that's the same as early retirement. You know, how will it affect retirement savings if I make that 30,000, which at this stage I think is it 30?
It's 10% of what's sitting in your retirement fund at the moment, with a maximum of 30,000.
It is 30,000 maximum. So what is the effect of doing that?
Well, I think like we've...
And I understand there's a need. I mean, people are struggling, and this is a way of... So we all agree that, you know, if you're saving for retirement, you can't put bread on the table, or although the people who contribute to retirement funds have got a job. It's not the people who don't contribute to, who don't have pension funds or retirement contributions or any other savings. But those who are saying, what do you think?
I think, like we've been saying previously, what is the purpose of a retirement fund? It's to help you accumulate money for that stage of your life. So certainly we should continue contributing to retirement funds. And yes, like you say, should you find yourself in a bit of a jam and you have nowhere else to go, going forward, you'll be able to access a portion of your retirement funds on an annual basis. Having said that, I think one needs to use that opportunity very carefully, because we've been talking about how few people are actually able to retire comfortably. So you are essentially borrowing from your future self if you're going to be maximizing what you can withdraw on a yearly basis, and essentially making an already bad situation even worse. So yes, it's an avenue that's available to you should you need to make use of it, but please use it as a last resort.
No, because you said, you made the comment, I mean, you take money out, the loss of compound interest. I mean, I don't think people realise, if you're looking at a long-term growth investment and you're looking at a return of 9% a year, that means money doubles every 8 years. So if you take, over a 24-year period, if you take 30,000 out, it's R250,000 Rand lost to your portfolio at a 9% return.
No, of course, Brian, and I think it is, in my view, still a potential improvement on, say, the current scenarios that we sometimes see playing out, where individuals are leaving employment or resigning from their jobs to get access to the full amount of their retirement funds. So I think in those scenarios, in my view, it is still a potential improvement. But of course, withdrawals from retirement accounts, as Police kind of mentioned already, should be avoided where possible, because, as you said, you're detracting from that compound growth and the amount of growth you can generate on top of growth.
And you will be able to withdraw that from retirement annuities as well. How the
Well,
companies are going to be working on that, I've got no idea
Yeah.
what systems they're going to have in place. Because Old Mutual put out a note, I saw last year, that they're expecting 1 million people working to want to access the funds.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the administration. I mean, today, for us as financial planners, compliance and all that, well, we you know, you don't have grey hair yet. I mean, I'm grey. Jordan Graham in Bitlita says, I've recently been retrenched and part of my severance package considers the tax-free allowance on the first 550. Please advise, what should I do with these funds?
So I think the first thing that, and I have some clients who are unfortunately going through similar processes, is to firstly acknowledge the sort of emotional toll that this process takes on you. It's a bit of a traumatic process. So I think that's the first thing, is that every individual's mentally got to get through that process so that you can start thinking rationally and start making some important financial decisions. And as Graham's mentioned, that being one of them. So the first thing that I think is quite important to remember is that lump sum is intended to, technically speaking, it should keep you going in the period where you are unemployed and trying to find additional work. So I think the first thing to mention is to not go out and spend recklessly from those funds, because that's your buffer in the interim while you're not earning an income to potentially find other work. It depends obviously on your stage of life, of course. The second aspect is to be aware of the potential tax implications. So severance does form part of the retirement tax table. So if you're ultimately looking to retire down the line, you may have utilized some of the tax-free portions available to you already. So I think it's just something to consider. Obviously, the immediate scenario is more pressing, but it's something to just be aware of.
Any last comment before we take my closing?
Well, talking about the two-pot retirement system, so as of this year, we now have gotten further direction, sort of, from Treasury to say that in the second phase of the reform, they are looking at individuals that have been retrenched and trying to give them access to their retirement fund. Whether it'll be through a lump sum or an annuity, still we wait and see, but at least the conversation is happening, and we've gotten the assurance that it'll happen in the next phase.
Well, although purchasing tax-free savings and retirement annuities have big tax advantages and are very efficient, the main purpose is always to save funds to increase ultimate retirement savings. It's important to understand that whatever company you purchase these products from, I see it purely as a room, and most companies will charge you around about 0.5%. The overriding factor is, where are you investing these savings? One does not always understand this, as I hear that I may have a retirement annuity with Liberty or Momentum or Allan Gray. Your fund through these institutions need to be funneled into some investment strategy, with most companies having what they call open architecture, wherever you give the funds to them, and you can select from hundreds of investment strategies, from conservative to growth orientators. One of the big failings for so many is that they have long-term time horizon, they invest far too conservatively. And that is where the role of a financial planner comes into being, to help you first understand what are you trying to achieve, and then to advise on where the funds are being invested, and to regularly review with you your ongoing strategy. I'd like to thank Palisa and Jordan Toy for joining me this evening. And if you need to get hold of them, please, you can always get hold of me on my email, and I will pass on to them if you want to consult with them. Next week's program, we'll be dealing with healthcare, and if you need to get hold of me, my details will appear on the screen. I'd like to thank you for watching, and good night.